Welcome, everybody, to our daily magic, where we talk about the magic that we're being in the world. Oh, there we go. Where we talk about the magic that we're being in the world, and also, what rituals are really contributing to our inner being and our awareness. There's just so much that we get to talk about here with our guests. But first,
drop the intro. Welcome, everyone. My name is Del. This is Kai, and today we have a very amazing guest. I know I say it all the time for our guests, but this is definitely a rare magical being that we have. And I want to give a quick intro and allow her to share her story and get more into it. So for those of you who don't know her name is April Gaines. And wow, we were just talking about this before the show, just looking at her information, her intro, just how much knowledge tools that she has over 18 different degrees. And April is a professional mental health and substance abuse counselor. And with those degrees, she has those to help out to facilitate with that. But the thing that caught my attention as well is she's a Reiki and energy healing master. And definitely we're going to get more into this journey for how she got so much of this information. But from what I've read so far, she's just here to serve. She's here to help people to really shift the mental health, energetic health, and seem like energy, spiritual health all together. And I would love for her to go more into it, to introduce herself and share her stories, share her journey. And I'm excited to get more into this. So let's not wait. Ladies and gentlemen, April Gaines.
Hi, thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
So, where do you want me to start?
The best way to start is just to start.
Yeah.
What we do. Yeah.
So, my journey actually started out as a little child. I was born to teenage parents. So, that being said, I didn't start out with the best, foot forward. It's not that my parents were bad, but they were teenagers. They're children. And so as my parents were trying to figure out life, they were also raising a little child. And my parents got a divorce at a very young age. So it was the time era where if you got pregnant, you got married, period. That's the rules, right? And then shortly after, of course, they ended up divorced. And that in itself, when children go through divorce with their parents, it instantly kind of puts a hole in the child's heart, right? A little bit of a loneliness. And I really think that that's where my journey started. Was I had this family and then I had this broken family. And that started creating in me this sensitivity, because now I felt more compassion, not just for me, but for my brother and just for other people. And it just kept going from there. My mother actually gave me and my brother up to my father. And I was raised by my dad, who was very angry person. So that actually, and I have no regrets or remorse or anger or anything towards my dad for all the things that we did or what we went through, because being raised in an angry home was the perfect school for psychic ability. Perfect, right? Why? Because I have to judge from a distance what mood my dad's in. Right? I have to figure out from a distance who's safe, who's not safe, who's angry, who's about to be angry. That's the perfect school for if I want to be a psychic. That's it. That's also the perfect tool for reading energy, which is what psychic ability is. It's reading energy. That's all it is, for interpreting energy. So I see my childhood, while it was very rough, as a blessing, as a gift. It was the perfect setup. It's what I needed. Now, would I say, oh, let's do it again? I don't know. But if you want training, there it is. Right? So I think my whole life has been my journey. And then what happened was, because I grew up in that angry environment, I, as a teenager, became very angry. I was spit fire. Like, you just didn't even want to be around me. I was so spitfire. Not even funny. But then what happened was I got pregnant at 15 years old. So I was repeating the cycle in my family. My grandmother had my mother at 16. My mother had me at 16. My mother had me at 17. So I was repeating this cycle. So when I got pregnant with my first child at 15, my mother actually forced me to get married. So I was married at 15 years old. And my husband was actually my husband and my legal guardian until I turned 18. And then what I decided was, at that time, I said, you know what? My kids are not going to have the life I had. They're not going to go through what I went through. I am going to stop this. I'm going to stop the cycle of abuse, these generations of abuse right here. And that is what set me on this path. I didn't actually save my children from all of it, because my first husband was actually an abusive alcoholic. So I didn't save my kids as much as I wanted to, but I did put a giant dent in our generations of abuse, right? So I actually, I used to love to watch Oprah. She still is my favorite. I still love her. And she had a show on one day, and I'm living my life. I'm a teenage mom. So I had my first child at 16. I had my second child 4 days before I turned 17. So I had 2 children at 16 years old. And I'm married, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life and what I'm going to be, and how am I going to be a good mom. Like, I was instinctually a good mom, but how am I going to be a really good mom to these kids? And Oprah had a show on one day, and she said, and I still to this day remember this, she said, education is the way out. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. And I said, that's it. I'm going back to school. So I took my 2 daughters and I went back. I got a GED, and that actually didn't feel like it was good enough for me. So I actually got that. And then I went back and I got a high school diploma with my girls. And then as soon as I was done with that, I said, I need to go to college, because Oprah said education's the way out. Right? And again, with having the abusive alcoholic husband, I again was in the same environment where I had to judge whether he was going to be mad, he was going to be abusive, so again, I'm still in this psychic ability training area, right? So then at 21, I started college, and then I got pregnant for my 3rd child, and I ended up on bed rest, and I had to stop going to school. 25, I went back and I started my college career. And it took me actually 17 years to get my master's, because I could only go part-time, and because I had to work part-time. And then when I was about 27, I finally got strong enough to leave my ex-husband. And at that point in my life, that's when things really changed, because I said, all I want is peace. I have come from this abusive father to this abusive husband. I just want peace in my life. So I went to school, and here's another one of the certificates, degrees. I became a massage therapist. And that led me into Reiki, which led me into psychic ability, which led me into, and that's where it really started. And then my mother had just passed 6 years ago, but my mother was into everything psychic. Like my mom believed like way too much stuff. But she would seriously, she would take me to these psychic fairs. And she actually is the person who bought my first tarot. I still use that tarot deck today. And I would get these readings, and they would say to me, I have them still on tape. They would say, "You're too strong for me to read you. You have to stop." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You people, what? They didn't even know what they were talking about. Like, you're crazy." So, and it kept happening to me. So my mother bought me my first deck, and I started doing readings, and I was good at it. I was accurate, and I resonated with the cards, and the readings were, so that's how it started. So I was doing massage therapy in a salon, and the girl that I was working with, she allowed me to also do readings. And it's really, so it's just been this really long journey. And then after I divorced him, I had 3 girls. I was a single mom. And what I was doing was trying to figure out a way, how do I make money, enough money to raise my kids and go to school? So I would do things like the massage therapy. And then I also became a nail tech. Then I became a Reiki master. Then I said, well, if I'm going to do Reiki and I'm going to do these healings, I should learn hypnotherapy. So I took hypnotherapy, got that certification, all while I'm still going to college.
Wow.
But it really was to support my girls. It was all and always has been about my girls. And then what I found was that once you step into the spiritual world, that's it. You can try to step out, but there's been times where I have this procedure or mantra or prayer that I do in the morning. Every morning I get in the shower, and I say this prayer, and it is, I want to make sure I get the words right. I surround myself with the great white light of divine love and protection. Allow nothing negative to penetrate me or affect me. Only love to come from me and go from me. In Jesus' name, amen. And I envision a white egg dome coming around me. And I do that every day. And the thing is that there's been a few times in my life where things have happened, and I decided I was going to be mad at God. I'm not doing this anymore. You're not there for me, right? I'm done. Get in the shower, prayer starts. Right? So once you start it, that's it. You're in it. So then I continued on this path, continued doing readings, and I used to clean houses for a living. Also, that's one of the things I did. Because see, all of these little jobs that I had, I could manipulate my schedule. So I could be there for my kids in the morning. I could be there at night. I could, So, but I decided I was done cleaning houses. I didn't want to clean anybody else's toilets anymore. It was done, right? So I got referred this job, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do? So I said, okay, I'll go to this job. I'll clean her house, and I'll leave her a note and tell her I'm really sorry, because I had got a job at a physical therapy center to be a manager. And that's actually what I was going to college for. I was going to be a physical therapist, right? So I go and I clean this house, and I'm in her bedroom, and this lady had this ginormous white bed. Like, I can't even describe how big it was. Floor to ceiling white bed. And I'm wiping this bed, And all of a sudden, somebody comes up from behind me and grabs me. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like, I'm just here to clean her house. I'm just here to clean. I'm just, and I thought, I am crazy. I am talking to the air. I am talking to the air. Like, I'm nuts. And I'm like, okay. So I keep going through her house and cleaning her house. And I keep getting these like pictures and these dates and these, and I'm just like, what is happening to me? Like, I am nuts. And I still to this day will never forget. I put my foot on the step to go out to leave to the garage. I wrote my note, was leaving, and I said to myself, if he follows me for 2 weeks, I'm going to call her. He followed me for 2 weeks. I kept getting these images and these pictures and these dates. And so I finally called the lady and I said, so you remember when I cleaned your house? She's like, yeah. I said, is your husband on the other side? And she's like, yeah. I said, well, do you have a birthday or an anniversary coming up? And she didn't answer me. And I thought, okay, I'm crazy. I'm just crazy. And I asked her again, and she said, April, they're both coming up. And I said, I think I'm supposed to give you a reading. And she goes, okay, how much do you charge? I said, I don't know. I've never done it. So I said, how about gas money? And it was kind of far for me to, as I drove out to her, I told her everything I was getting, everything I was seeing. And it was all spot on. It was perfect. And he kept showing me this really odd flower. I couldn't place the flower. And she said, April, we got married in Japan. That was the white flower we had. And it come to turn out that the lady referred me was actually friends with my mother. The lady I had done the reading for was contemplating suicide until I read her. So I didn't know I was a medium. I had no idea I was a medium, but he knew, her husband knew I was a medium, and he came up and he grabbed me. So I figured out I had the psychic ability. I was reading the cards, but the mediumship, that just happened to me. It just magically happened one day. And then from that point on, I started reading people. And, did I read and, charge people a fee? Yes. And that was to take care of me and my girls. But what I found was actually where I get my joy, my passion from is it's healing. It heals these people when they are able to connect to loved ones on the other side. It heals them, right? So it's kind of a long journey. Then what happened is I was going to be a physical therapist, and every time I got close to meeting all the requirements and it was time to go to the university, they would up that degree. Like they did it 3 times. First it was a bachelor's, then it was kind of like a little after a bachelor's, then I was like, Jesus, what? So I took this class basically of what do you want to be when you grow up? Is what the class was. And they kept taking all these tests, the Myers-Briggs and all these tests about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the teacher comes up to me. She was a counselor at the college, and she says, well, April, we know what you don't like, for sure. But she said, and all the tests kept coming up that I should either be a hairdresser or a counselor, which I think hairdressers are kind of counselors, right? A little bit. She said, why don't you do what I do? She said, I make over 80,000 a year. I work like 30 hours a week. I take vacations whenever I want. And I said, okay. And I switched all my stuff over to be a counselor, which if you look in my life, like growing up in the angry home, and then like my stepmom would always come and she would talk to me even as a child about the problems they were having. I was always a counselor anyways. I was already, now it was just official. I was going to get this degree, right? So that's what I did. And then I kept going, and I finally graduated. And I graduated the month before I had my last daughter. I have 5 girls. So, I don't know what this phlegm is. But I think it's the perfect job for me because of all the things that I've been through in my life. So the letters behind my name, the LPC is licensed professional counselor. In my state, in order to treat substance abuse, you have to have a special certification. So the ICAADC is internationally certified drug and alcohol. It's advanced certified drug and alcohol counselor. And then the MAEPH, that is the hypnotherapy. And my job actually offered a training, and I was the only one that took it from my location. The ADS after my name is acupuncture detox specialist. So I am a trained auricular acupuncturist.
It's amazing.
Right.
And then I just recently, I think I have an addiction to learning. Recently, I just upped my hypnotherapy and did a certification for past life regression. So that's all the letters behind my name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I also want to catch you up on the comments that you're getting from our viewers. And shout out to Alicia, Tracy, Meryl, Sean, everyone who's watching here. Juju, our friend, says, "Oh, wow, you're saying I have psychic abilities too? Reading people from a distance, picking up the undertones, and yes, to breaking cycles of abuse. I love everything you're speaking, April. You were talking to me today." And we've got one more comment, a question that says, "Can you talk about empathy and how to overcome feeling all the energy that comes from it?"
Yeah. Okay. So the psychic ability, yes, we all have it because everything is energy. Everything's energy. And we have that old saying from Einstein, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. So this is the easiest way for me to explain this to people. How I explain it is, like I have this table in front of me. And when you look at this table, it looks like it's a solid thing, right? But what makes up the table?
Energy.
Molecules, atoms, right? What are atoms? They're molecules. They're protons, neutrons, electrons. That's energy. So we think this table is solid, but it's actually made up of atoms that are energy. They are just binding and unbinding and moving and flowing. The reason that it looks solid is because its frequency, the rate that it vibrates at, is so slow that it seems solid. Okay? If I take an ice cube, which is H2O, and I melt it, it's still H2O, it's water. And then I boil it, it's still H2O, it's steam. That's what happens to us when we die. We don't die, we just change form. Right? The spirit that dies, that comes out, really doesn't die. It just is moving, it's vibrating at such a fast speed that the human eyes can't see it. That's why we can't see them. Now, sometimes you think you see them and you're like, what was that? But that's the reason why most people can't just see them walking in front of us, is the human eye just can't see that frequency. That's all that is. Now, intuition and empathy, I wish this would go away. They're similar. It's a fine line between intuition and empathy, intuition and emotions. Intuition is your inner sense of knowing. It is just that feeling that you get, like walking into a room, and you just get this feeling like, oh, I don't know what's going on here, but I think I should go, right? That's that intuition. That's that feedback. Now empathy is where you pick up on other people's emotions. Okay. And as a counselor, that is something that I feel is you have to learn to master that. You have to learn to not take on other people's emotions. Okay. So one of the ways that I do that is I literally, when I do readings for people or when I'm doing my counseling, I know that whatever it is that they are going through is not my energy. It is, and it doesn't mean I don't care. It's not my problem. It's not my energy. Now I can support them. I can talk to them. I can hear them. I've even cried with some. So it's not that I don't care, but I have to remember that it's not my problem. It's not my energy. Okay. That's very, very important. That's how, like, literally, when I see a client and they walk out of my room, the second they walk out of the room, their information drops. I drop it. And I don't even think about it until they come back into my room and it all comes back. Right. How do you do that? And this is how God taught me this lesson is he used my kids. And so I have this daughter that she I have to say this carefully. She has a husband that's not the best. So what she would do is my ex-husband, for my first three girls, I have five. My first three, my ex-husband is in the UP in Michigan, which is up by Canada. Okay. Very cold, very far away. There's trees for hundreds of miles. So this husband of hers would constantly try to talk her into moving to the UP. And in my family with my girls, we're extremely close, extremely close. So for her to leave and move away, it is literally like breaking our family in half. It's very devastating. So he would hound her to move up there. And then before she would move up there, she would get mad at me. Why would she do that? Well, she needed to do that to have a reason to make it okay, right? I would become the problem. And I'm like, I'm not even in your dang marriage. What are you doing? Right. So my mother taught us to be very entwined and very into each other's stuff and get all mad and everything. But what I stopped and realized was if I keep getting upset because of what other people are doing, the choices they are making, then I'm a mess. I'm a mess. Right. And am I going to stop her from going up north? I'm not going to stop her. She's in this la la land with her husband and thinks this is the best thing to do. And you know what? Maybe she needs to go up there because maybe God's got a lesson for her up there. And what am I doing stepping in? Now, did I say I don't agree with what you're doing? Yes. Did I say I think you're being an idiot? Yes, I did. Did I say you should stay here with your family? Yes, I did. But I dropped it there because I said, you know what? This is not my lesson to learn. And if I keep trying to learn the lessons for her, protecting her, then I'm stepping between her and God. How's she going to learn it? Right? So in this relationship with this child and her husband, it's been insane, you guys. Like they're married, they broke up, they get back together, they broke up, they got divorced, they got remarried, got broke up. It's been insane, right? But like I said, I didn't completely stop all the cycles because I was married to an abusive alcoholic. So she's got a lesson to learn there. But one of the last times when they got remarried this last summer, my my oldest daughter, some of the other family members were like, we're not going to the wedding. And I'm like, okay, don't go. Well, how are you going with everything that's done and everything that's happened and everything he's done? to her, I said, not my problem, not my issue. My issue is I'm her mom, so I'm going to be there, period. And then they said, well, but what about everything that he's done? I said, apparently she's not done learning the lesson.
Mm.
I can't learn it for her. So I'm going to stand here and watch her get married. I'm going to love her. And I think that's what God does to us. I think he stands there and says, okay, when you're done, I'll be right here. I still love you. Right? That's how I deal with empathy. Is it that I don't care about her? No, you can't even tell you how much I love her. But it's not my lesson. It's not my emotions. It's not my energy. And so do you understand that? Does that?
Not even just for her, but for myself. That was powerful. You just shared so much, but also like what I got from it is you are loving her as God loves everyone. That
Right.
unconditional love. And a lot of people have the illusion of loving with conditions. I mean, I love you to a certain point, but then also trying to be the judge of other people's lives, living their life. And it's great to offer advice, but it's like we all get it when we're meant to get it in the moment.
Exactly. Yep.
And we may plant that seed or we may lead to that transformation of that person in that moment. But it's like, can you be okay with if you give this person advice that they repeat whatever they're going through again to be able to learn it? Because for myself, I got so many lessons from people telling me I should do this, I should do that, but it wasn't authentic. I wasn't ready to hear it. So then I will repeat it. But as I'm repeating the lesson, I'm getting better at it over and over and over. And it comes to a point when I realize, wait a minute, like, what am I doing? And
Yeah.
you make that shift. You make
Yeah.
that shift from there. But we have all these helpful angels. And I just know for myself, it's very powerful if somebody can unconditionally love you as you're going through your lessons, because then you don't feel alone. Like this person is here for me. They accept me. They're showing me what God is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
That's what I got from it is, my family was very, like my oldest daughter and this daughter are the ones, they're 10 months apart.
mhm.
They're only 10 months apart. So they are unbelievably close. And she didn't go. And I said, you know what, Courtney, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be there for her. And I love her. And that doesn't mean I like what she's doing. I don't think God likes what we're doing all the time, but he doesn't. We have such an abandonment in this world and in this life. And if you don't follow my rules, my expectations, I'm not going to be there for you. That's to me, that's not how God really is. That's not what he's actually like. That's what we've been taught for centuries, but I don't believe that's how he really is. And so God uses, sometimes I've asked him to back off because he uses my children as my biggest lessons. Um, but she did get married. She is still kind of struggling with him. And, I have told her what I think, but that's it. I don't, you remove, like my stepdad, um, you know, he has all these requirements and all these, well, did you get a job by X years old? And do you have a retirement? And are you doing this? And do you have a house? And it's like, I didn't know that those are qualifications for being a good person. What, why do we have all these qualifications? Right. So in your story, like my daughter is she's still learning whatever lesson it is that's in her. It's not my, this is one of the biggest things that I had to learn. And I can't explain to you guys how attached I am to my children. My children are my world, literally, especially since I was given up as a child by my mother. I have that huge, like, actually, there's times in my life where I have to look and go, you have to remember, April, you were given up. Like because, but with you saying, like, my daughter has a soul plan And while I am her mother here, I'm the one that's been put in charge to teach her. She's not mine. She's God's. She is not mine. She is a soul on a soul journey. I'm just the guide. Right? And that was a huge lesson. Like, what do you mean she's not mine? She's my child and she's going to go to school and she's going to do this and she's going to go to college and she's going to. No, she's not mine. And that's a very hard lesson. And when I got that, and then I realized I'm not going to learn these lessons for her. She has to learn them. And for some reason or another, the other 10 times that her and this husband went through this, she didn't get the true key yet. She didn't get the true lesson yet. But she's closer. Right? So, like in your story, you are exactly where you need to be. Wherever that, if you are homeless and on the street, that is exactly where you need to be at this moment because there's a lesson in that. Right? So that's one thing that I try to remind myself and remind others, where, especially in the addiction world, wherever you are, it's exactly where you're supposed to be right now because there's a lesson in this moment. There's a gift in this moment that you're supposed to be getting.
Here's some more comments. Meryl says, the mediumship happened out of nowhere to me too. And Allison, who has a very profound story, says that this story sounds so familiar to me. So what you're sharing, April, is clearly resonating with a lot of people. And Juju says, whoa, powerful message through that story. Thank you. This is not my lesson to learn. This is not my problem, not my issue. She says, yo, that free will, divine love message.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I resonate so much with you, April, with allowing your child to go through their experience and their lessons. I have a son. Well, he's 9, but my previous experience with him, and this is before I really started going into my own spiritual journey, was trying to raise him the way that I felt was right for him, or even try to make him to fulfill dreams that I didn't fulfill in my own self. So I thought, oh, my son can redeem these dreams that I was trying to pursue, whether it's like sports or whatever, dreams that I wasn't fulfilled for myself. And what I got to, and I'm integrating now, is the fact, like you said, he's not mine. He's God's child, and I'm just grateful enough that he chose me to carry on, to help him in this 3D reality for him also to expand his soul, expand his awareness, to find out who he is, and through that process, he's going through his own experiences. And then there's some things that like I have learned as an adult that I can like let him know, like, okay, maybe you should reconsider that. Like, for example, you shouldn't go out in the street and go play in traffic or something like that. It's like common things. But the thing that I'm helping him integrate with is ways for him to process emotion in a better way than maybe I have experienced in my own journey. And the way that I did before, I would tell him, like, you shouldn't do this, you should do it this way. So like authoritative parent role. And that's what I had in my life. But now it's like I'm seeing him as an equal for myself and having that conversation with him to understand from him, like, why are you so upset right now? What's going on with you? Showing that, and that sympathy, and also showing that passion side for him, just understanding it's okay how you feel right now. I just want to hold a space for you to be able to process it. I'm not saying it to him, and that's not even just for him, it's for other people. I should do the same thing. Like, let me hold space for you. I want to hold space for you to process things. And saying it to somebody is like, what do you mean by that?
Right.
Being it and embodying it and showing that for somebody is so much more powerful, because then what I was thinking about doing, and I'm just doing it in an unconditional way. Like, I'm okay whatever way they respond to it, but most of the time they respond to it in a powerful way because I'm meeting them where they're at. And also if they're ready to help them to elevate, but also if they want to be where they're at right now, I'm totally fine with it. Sometimes we just need a vent and like just
Yeah.
say what's happening with us and not be judged. So yeah, it's okay to feel the way you feel. It's totally fine.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think that I'm actually excited for the world. I know a lot of people think the world's really bad, and while we are not where we should be or need to be or can be, I see progress just in that example alone. That we are changing our parenting styles. So I see a lot of progress, and that really excites me. And I tried, well, my first three girls, I came from a very strict home. My father was very, very strict. So with my first three girls, I was strict. They couldn't wear long earrings and they couldn't wear high heels and they couldn't, and then when I had my last two girls, I lightened up because I was like, you know what? Why? This is ridiculous. Why do I got to be so? But that's what I was taught. But you know what? It's okay to change and to look at things differently. And do I let them run in the street? No, but the more we can have, I think the key is the more that I can look at the child and I can say, so what do you think about that decision you made? You think did it work out? you know, that is, I think, the key, and that's where I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that the world goes, more. So, um, do we have more questions, or I can explain emotions to you guys? But I want to make sure if we have more questions first.
We're caught up on the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So humans are horrible at handling emotions. And Deepak says this. Deepak says we are emotion. That's what we are. We are literally one emotion after another, but we are running around pretending we don't have any. It's so true. So we're either happy or we're sad or we're content or we're fine or we're mad but we are literally one emotion after another. The biggest thing about emotion, if you guys could just remember this, it is simply an energy state. That's it. It is an energy state within the body for the moment. No emotion ever lasts, ever. Okay? You are not mad all day. There are breaks. You either are more mad or you're less mad, but there are breaks. So no emotion ever, ever, ever stays. Okay? That's the biggest thing. When you get a giant emotion, a big emotion, remind yourself, okay, this is going to move. This is going to move all on its own. I don't have to do anything. And that's actually what I do. When I get giant emotions, I'm like, wow, okay, I am super mad right now. Okay, it's going to go away. And that's what I do with mine, right? Being a counselor doesn't exclude me from emotions. That's not a ticket out, right? So.
I have a question for you with emotions, and I'm asking for myself because this is what I do now with emotions. So before, like, I would get really angry, and when I was really angry, I would just be really angry for most of the day. Like, everybody's gonna feel the wrath of my anger or my sadness and stuff. So like before, I'm like, oh, I'm angry. Now I'm angry at this. Or I'm angry at that. Now I'm angry at this. Every single thing I'm looking at or experiencing is gonna bring anger in me. And what I do now, and it's been working for me, is when I feel like that intense energy or intense emotions, I already gave it away. That intense emotion, I'm like, oh, there's this powerful energy in me right now. Like this,
Yeah.
like the emotion is like very intense. And what I do is, one, I acknowledge that it's here. Like, okay, anger, you're here right now, and I'm going to allow you to be here. And once I like allow it and accept it in the moment when I first feel it, it morphs into this powerful energy that I can be able to use to create some stuff. Like, oh, now I'm about to go use this and do a powerful workout, or I'm gonna have a powerful video, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was, okay.
That is actually one of the keys. So the first thing that I usually say is, number one, acknowledge the emotion. I'm not somebody that gets angry a lot because I've worked on that issue with me. But when I do get angry, it's intense. It's super intense. And the first thing to do is to say, okay, I'm angry. I am peed off. I am mad, right? So you acknowledge the emotion. That in itself lessens it. The second step is to remind yourself, okay, this is going to go away. Now, it may go away in a day, it may go away in 3 days, but it is still going to go away regardless. It's going to go away. Okay. The next thing is that if you can, what happens when you say, okay, I'm really angry, this is going to go away. This is what you're doing is you're putting space between you and the emotions already. It lessens it already, right? And then Eckhart Tolle has an exercise that I have people do that it sounds really silly. I know it does, but it works. So, uh, when you have an intense emotion, if you can say to yourself, I am having some anger versus I am angry. Okay. I'm angry. Now it's inside of me. I'm angry. I'm having some anger. That puts space right there. That is a huge, I know it sounds ridiculous to go, I'm having some anger. I'm having some sadness. I get it, but it works because now I'm having this experience. It's not me. I'm just having it. And the more that you can notice the emotion and just start to, what Eckhart calls it is the pain body, it's the ego, our ego. So if you can notice the emotion, okay, I'm having anger. So you're having a conversation with somebody and it starts to get heated and you're starting to get angry and you're starting to voice your opinion. And then right there is where you go, oh, I'm angry. You know what? Let me walk away. The more that you do that, you'll start to notice it faster. So now, most of the time in my life, again, I'm not perfect. Counselors don't get excluded from this. Most of the time now, I can position myself before that person that always irritates me even walks in the room. Oh, they're coming. Okay, breathe, center. Know that whatever it is that they say usually irritates you. So I'm prepared to not respond. I'm prepared to not get angry. Right? So here's a little thing. God, again, use my children. I have my daughter, number 4, is obsessed with reading. Like she reads 3, 4 books a week this thick. Like the kid is obsessed with reading. So this was about 3 years ago. She decided one day she was going to call me a stupid jerk. And I said, okay, fine. And so then what I did is I went into her room and I took her books, all her books, but her little baby books and her God books. I took her books. She was about 11, 12-ish at this time. And I said, so I took her books and I said, you don't get to talk to your mom that way. So I'm going to hold on to your books until you can say you're sorry, you can this or whatever. The child cried and cried and cried and cried, right? And I'm just going about my day. I'm waiting for her to get ready to talk to me because she still wouldn't talk to me. And I noticed that she stopped crying. But when she seen me coming, she's like, oh. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You weren't crying a minute ago. And then I thought about it and I thought, we do this to ourselves. You ever had that time where you cried yourself to bed and you were almost asleep and so tired, but then you're like, no, you brought it back. It was already gone. You've been so mad at somebody, and then next thing you know, you're watching a TV show, and then they walk in the living room, and you're like, oh, I'm not talking to them. You weren't mad anymore. It left. They leave on their own. We bring them back. we do it to ourselves.
Oh.
And I said, God, please stop using my children. Please. That was another giant lesson. Like, we do this to ourselves. We make ourselves stay mad because we rethink it and we re-justify why we deserve to be mad and everybody else deserves to know it.
Mm.
But the emotion leaves all on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The external validation for what we're going through, and then
Yeah.
bring it back. Even like you say, it passed through. But wait a second, no, I gotta prove that I'm angry. I gotta prove that I'm sad. And even let's say people who go into a new relationship or a new job venture and are thinking about the past situation that they dealt with, a past relationship or a past job, and you go into this brand new experience, but you're bringing back, oh my God, this is going to be a horrible experience because of what happened to me before or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's so interesting how
I always say the conversation that you have with yourself is the most important conversation. It truly is. Because what you say to yourself has more effect on how you think, feel, act than what anybody else says. Because see, somebody else can say something mean to you and okay, that was done. You're stupid. Okay, it's over. That's 2 seconds. It's not that they said I'm stupid. It's the story I put behind that. How dare they talk to me that way? How, right? So it's the story behind. Yeah, the conversation you have with yourself is the most important one.
Yeah. As soon as you say, like, how dare they do that? Because I'm just re-envisioning like myself doing that type of thing. Like, how dare they say that to me? Who are you to tell me what to do? And it's a conversation. It just keeps going.
It does.
The egoic part of us conversation go, and then we engage with it. Like, yeah, how dare they do that? And it's like a whole thing,
right? Yeah. It's interesting. So yeah, these are all the little things that I've learned, I've done. I have taken a lot of courses. I spent a lot of time listening to spiritual teachers, reading books. And it was mostly because I wanted to heal myself so that I could heal my girls. That was my ultimate goal, that I would be able to heal them. And like I said, obviously that didn't work out perfectly, but then I learned to accept that they're on their journey too. Right? You can't step in on other people's journeys. You can help them, you can guide them, but ultimately, so this is the thing, like, you can say that you understand, you can say that you feel for somebody, but you don't actually know what it feels like until you are in those shoes. You really don't. You have to actually be in those shoes. So you have to actually have the experience to learn from it. And if I keep trying to stop and save all these people from having these experiences, then they won't be able to learn. So I'm not helping them on their path. Now, once they have the experience, I can help them move that into a different space so it doesn't hurt. I can't eliminate it. And in most cases, we don't want to eliminate it, right? We don't want to not allow you to fall, to learn to get up, because how else will you learn to get up if you don't first fall, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I do it with my kids. I do it with my clients. I even do it with myself and say, okay, well, that was not the best choice, right?
The trial and error of life, pretty much. Like I call it the conscious chemist. That's how I call myself, the conscious chemist, trying things out, see if it works, or if it doesn't work. Go back to the drawing board. But it's a experience, but it's beautiful because we're all always learning and expanding each moment. A question I had for you is for yourself, and because you work with people, is like, do you know, like, let's say, like, because there's people out there who say, I want to get help or I want to do this, but they're not really ready to do it. It's just like I guess like the self-help thing is the new wave, or so, the new thing right now. A lot of people, self-improvement and all these other things, and they put the positive stuff out there, but not really doing the work. So do you, for yourself, how do you distinguish like somebody who is just saying it just to say it compared to somebody who's saying it because they're ready to like do it, ready to step in and do the work?
Usually you can kind of tell. One, it's kind of in their energy field. There's a lot that we read off of the body language. And it's like somebody doing something for you. You can usually genuinely feel if they are genuinely doing this because they want to, or they're trying to just get something out of it. One of the other things is like, I have a couple people that I work with in particular that I have this conversation with them where I say, I can teach you for the rest of your life, but if you don't actually do what I'm teaching you, you don't actually apply it, you won't get better. So that's the one thing that I find is they want to talk to somebody, they want to think they want help, but they won't actually apply any of the tools of the techniques. So if you want to actually apply the tools, you will absolutely get better. If I say to you, okay, I want you to go around today and I want you to just notice when you're getting angry. Just notice. Don't do anything about it. Just notice. That's a tool. That's an awareness tool. If you actually do that, then you'll come back and you'll go, oh, I'm angry like all day. Okay. Now let's put in the tool of when you start to get angry, notice it. Now I want you to stop, breathe, and step back. So it's when they're actually willing to apply the skills, right? And of course, the key is, for me, it's like one of the other reasons why I have learned so many things is because I was trying to learn to be happy myself. I was trying to fix that turmoil inside. Like, why am I not this like joyous, happy, jumping around person? What's wrong with me? What is it? I wanted to fix that, right? So that's the other thing is that I feel like if you have had enough suffering, then you're ready. If you just want to figure out how to be happy, then you're ready. And that's where I was. I'm like, I am tired of being miserable, right? And yeah, I had things contributing to the misery. I had an alcoholic husband. But still, I just didn't want to be miserable anymore. So that's another huge key. When you want to find happiness, you will be willing to do whatever you need to do to heal.
What a graceful way to end. Couldn't have planned that.
Yeah.
April, thank you so much for your wisdom today. I mean, just listening to you has had so many things happen over here internally. I've been quiet because they've just been so resonant. And these shifts, I'm just like letting them happen. And this is just a testament to how powerful your story is. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And if you need, I don't want to just leave you with that. So if you need, you can reach me on Messenger. Okay. So if something comes up that I don't want to just leave you hanging there.
Thank you. Thank you. And for anyone else who's looking to be in touch with you, what's the best way to find you?
Facebook is actually the best way. I know what some people think about it, but it's actually the best way. So you could just reach out to me through Messenger or through the group, but that is the best way. I'm on all the things. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all that, but Facebook is the best way.
Good. Awesome. So we can make sure that people can get a hold of you and, really take advantage of all of this wonderful wisdom that you're sharing.
Yes.
Your famous words.
Oh. Yeah. And this has been, once again, just a powerful, amazing conversation that I'm deeply grateful for. Learned so much and going to integrate so much more from this. And I'm sure our audience will as well. And for those of you who are listening live, we appreciate you. And those who are listening later on, whether it's on here, on YouTube, or iTunes, we appreciate you as well. And just ask yourself from this episode, what additional magic can you integrate in yourself from this powerful conversation? And how can you bring that to one person in your life from here? Because the more of us being able to do that, the more we can definitely help shift this planet. And this, whew, wow. And like always, until next time, stay magical.
Take care, everyone.
Oh my goodness.